everybody, this is Strict9, and I'm here to show you how to use acquisition. This is a pretty cool, simple utility set up by our good friend XYZ, the maker of poe.trade, and it will help you sell stuff quite easily through your shop without having to do any manual setup. So let's get right to it. It's kind of supposed to be move quick. Come on to my stream or leave a message on this Reddit thread or whatever if you have questions. So first step, you're going to need a shop thread in order to be able to do this. So hop over to our web browser and set that up. I'm personally playing in Torment. Let's come down here to the Torment trading shops. Create a new thread, Strix, and goodies. You don't actually even have to put anything in it. Click submit. The main thing we want here with this shop thread number, which we're going to use in just a minute. Step 2, download and install acquisition. You can search for PoE acquisition. You find the Reddit thread, click on the link, it will take you over to GitHub. Not really here to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of acquisition versus procurement. You can read all about that in the thread, blah blah blah. Click here. This is the releases tab. You can see the releases which have been accelerating significantly recently. XYZ's been adding some cool features, so come back here often. You'll also get a notification within the application. So we download the file, we save it. Manage to new it up. Run. Click yes. Next. Accept the general public license. Next. Location. I personally have mine within my games folder just because the grinding gear games folder is I like to keep things together. Doesn't really matter where you put it because the last step conveniently is to launch it. I launch it, you get a couple different options here. You can use your email and password. You can log in through Steam. It will open a separate window. That's Steam's authentication process. I use the session ID. You could choose which league you want. If you want to switch leagues, you can just exit acquisition, you come back in. So again, I'm using Torment, use that, I can log in. It opens it up. You can quickly, briefly see there it was loading all the tabs. It'll load 45 tabs and then it'll wait for a minute because GGG will tell it to wait. And then it'll load another 45 tabs, etc. Alright, let's go back and see what our next step is now that we have acquisition installed. Step 3, we're going to set up some tabs in PoE. You'll see why we're going to do this in a minute, but first step, let's set up some buyout tabs. So I come over here to my stash. I have a couple of tabs I'm not doing anything with. I personally give them handy names and colors like this. And so basically I'm going to put in, when I'm out farming or whatever, I get a normal gem or something like that, I'm going to drop it in this shop 1alk tab. So let's imagine that I found this helm and I thought it was worth about an alk. Drop it in here. 1 elk. Set up another tab, shop, chaos. And let's imagine that I thought that this Reaver's Imbued Wand of Skill was worth chaos, and I drop it in this tab. And let's set up this 2 chaos tab. Found a chain, I'm going to put that in there. Alright, so again, this is a matter of convenience. Do this however you like to balance the number of tabs that you have with the convenience of just dropping things in that are priced. And then the way that I do it, I have a shop, highlights, tab, highlights. And let's imagine that both of these super awesome items are going to go in there because they have prices that don't fall under 1 elk, 1 chaos, 2 chaos, whatever other buyout tabs I have set up. If this is a little confusing to you, it should become more clear in a second when we switch over to acquisition. So I set up some buyout tabs, set up a highlights tab. My next step, I'm going to come into acquisition, and I'm going to do some configurations. So first things first, I need to set up my shop thread. So I come up here to the very succinct menu lists, and I go to shop, and I go to forum shop thread. I click on this, I get this text box. What I need to enter into that is that thread number from this forum thread that I set up over here. So I come back here, I take this number from the end, in this particular case 1156334. Copy that to the clipboard, come back over to acquisition, paste that in, click OK. Now let's come in here, we're going to look at our tabs. Unfortunately it takes a couple of minutes for things to refresh. Let's see if we can force refresh it. I click refresh, you can see it briefly buzzed through the 42 tabs there. Oh nice. A lot of this is dependent on when GGG decides to update their data, because acquisition relies on APIs put forth by Grinding Gear. And I think it seems from my experience that it's a little intermittent when that stuff starts and when that stuff gets refreshed. I've tried leaving the game. Well, that's probably a little harsh, but I've tried leaving my hideout. I've tried a couple different things. But anyway, so we come in here. This has a listing for all my tabs in it. If I click the little plus sign, I can come in here and look at the items within it just to make sure that it's what we're looking for. So let's start here with our shop 1 elk tab. I'm going to click on the tab level, not on the item level, on the tab level. And I'm going to switch this ignore, which means that it's not included in our sales. I'm going to switch it to buyout. I'm going to come over to this next drop down box. I'm going to choose the particular piece of currency that I want to use to set my buyout. I'm going to choose an elk. I'm going to choose elks, and I'm going to put 1 in here. So what this will do is everything that I put into this tab in Path of Exile, which right now you can see I only put that 1 profit crown, but if there was more than 1 item, everything in there will get listed as an elk. So here's my actual shop tab that I use for my real shop. And here's just a bunch of random stuff that I put in there, lots of gems, a couple of rings, whatever. Everything that I put into that tab will get listed in my forum shop thread as 1 elk. So back to our sample tab here. Now I have my new shop 1 chaos tab. I'm going to come down here. Again, I have it highlighted at the tab level. Come down here, switch to buyout. Switch this over to chaos. Put 1 chaos in here. Now anything I put into that tab in Path of Exile will get listed as 1 chaos. Come here to my shop 2 chaos tab within acquisition. Switch this to buyout. Choose Chaos Orb. I put a 2 in here instead of 1. Now everything I listed here will get listed at 2 Chaos. Alright? So far, relatively straightforward. Now, one thing that's slightly different, I have a highlights tab. This is for anything that's not 2 Chaos or 1 Chaos or 1 out. This is, so I got my 2 items in here. I think, oh man, these gloves, they got the sweet 1 to 5 lightning. I'm gonna put a buyout on these. Now see that I have the individual item selected and not the tab level. I come in here. Oh man, these are totally gonna sell for an exalted. Alright, so now this one item, you can see the price here is listed at 1 exalt. I come in here. Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about these awesome boots with their 24% stun recovery. I'm gonna set those. Man, I'm selling those for 2 exalted, no problem. Alright, so that's all pretty cool. This is a lot like procurement. Pretty handy. I guess I am gonna get at least a little bit into the debate about which is better, procurement or acquisition. Here's where the real magic happens. If I have this checked, which by default it is, acquisition will automatically refresh the items in my stash without me ever having to come into acquisition. I don't ever have to do anything else. It just runs in the background, and periodically, we'll talk about how often in a second here, periodically it will go and it will check all these tabs, look and see if there's anything new in them, if any of them have buyouts or anything like that. It will list those items automatically in my forum shop thread. I don't have to do anything. So when it updates the contents, it will update the shop thread. I can come in here, set my item refresh interval. Please be conscientious of the fact that GGG doesn't have endless resources. Please don't set this to refresh every minute. If you have a lot of tabs, anything over 45, you're actually going to get stalled for a minute anyway. I think something like 10 minutes, probably quite reasonable. 15 minutes, totally fine. Just think of how easy this is. You're going to be out farming. You're going to get nice drops when you're in maps or whatever. All you have to do is drop them into your pre-named tabs, and all the stuff that's pre-priced will automatically go up with the price. Oh, actually, I screwed up one thing. If you come in here on your shop, on your highlights tab, set it for no price, and that will at least list the items in here. So even if, let's imagine that you're in a good session and you're running, rotating maps and you run 5 or 10 in a row and you're dropping some stuff in the highlights, but you don't feel like coming back into acquisition to price them all individually. At least if you put them in here without a buyout on them, they'll at least get listed and somebody can message you about them and say, hey dude, I saw your sweet Rapture Pace Cardinal boots. How much are you thinking about that? And then you can, pop over, take a look in your stash, maybe switch over to poe.trade and see what you think they're worth. But really, that's it. Let's come back over to our agenda here, but all we need to do, you set up the thread number here, make sure that auto fresh is enabled, adjust the refresh interval if you feel like 15 minutes is too slow or too fast. The requisite South Park reference, and profit. It really is that easy. It's amazing. Like I've been out farming in maps. I find an item between maps. I just drop it into one of the pre-priced tabs. I go back into the map. 5 minutes later, somebody sends me a message. Hey, I saw that item. Blah blah blah. I never switched over to acquisition. I never regenerated my shop thread. I never did anything. I just put the item into that tab that already had the buyouts set on it, and it got listed automatically. Pretty amazing stuff. That's it. I guess here's where I should have a tab that talks about where you can find me on YouTube or Twitch or any of that stuff. I don't really care about that. I'm just trying to help people make the economy better. Have a good one.